In 2003, a young Syrian medical student named Ahmed Hussein al-Sharaa walked away from his lecture halls in Damascus. He didn't just leave his studies, he vanished into the fog of the Iraq War. For the next 2 decades, this man would operate in the darkest shadows of global geopolitics, running under the alias Abu Muhammad al-Julani. He was captured, caged in the notorious Abu Ghraib prison, and eventually released into a broken region, only to build a terrifying 5,000-man army. He outmaneuvered ISIS, cut deals with al-Qaeda, and survived with a $10 million American bounty on his head. Fast forward to the present day. That same wanted man is no longer hiding in caves. He is sitting in the presidential palace in Damascus, recognized by Western superpowers and Gulf monarchies alike as the transitional leader of Syria. This is not just a story of survival. It is a masterclass in political shapeshifting that has sent shockwaves through every authoritarian regime in the Middle East. To understand how a ghost became a head of state, we have to look at the brutal calculus of the Syrian civil war. While others clung to rigid, self-destructive dogmas, Julani possessed something far more dangerous: pragmatism. By 2016, realizing that international recognition was the only path to permanent power, he did the unthinkable. He severed ties with al-Qaeda, shed his alias, and showed his face to the world for the very first time. In the northern province of Idlib, he stopped acting like a warlord and started acting like a bureaucrat. He built roads, organized civil administrations, and built a functioning state. Then came November 2024. In a lightning offensive, codenamed Deterrence of Aggression, Julani's forces shattered the front lines. In just 12 chaotic days, a regime that had survived a decade of civil war through sheer brutality collapsed like a house of cards. Bashar al-Assad fled, and Ahmed Hussein al-Sharaa stepped into the vacuum. By January 2025, the transformation was complete. He was no longer a target, he was a partner. Before we look at the absolute panic this caused across the Mediterranean, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We break down the hidden power struggles shaping our world every week, and you won't want to miss our next deep dive. This sudden rise sent shockwaves directly to Cairo. For the Egyptian regime under Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the sudden fall of Assad wasn't just a foreign policy failure, it was a geopolitical nightmare. Egypt had heavily bet on Assad's survival, completely blindsided by the speed of his collapse. The sight of a former militant commander taking the reins of a major Arab state shattered Cairo's entire worldview. The boiling tension between these two men finally spilled into the open at a high-stakes regional summit in Cyprus. The body language spoke volumes. During the formal meeting, Sisi went out of his way to aggressively ignore the new Syrian leader. Photos and video footage captured the Egyptian president physically turning his back on Sharaa, striking up animated conversations with European leaders to avoid even acknowledging the man sitting right next to him. When the leaders gathered for the traditional family photo, the seating arrangement forced them together again. With a calculated smile, the Syrian leader leaned in, broke the ice, and forced a brief televised conversation. Back home, the propaganda machinery went into overdrive. Egyptian, state-backed media spun Sisi's icy demeanor as a display of national charisma and geopolitical weight, while smoother media figures tried to downplay the incident, claiming the interaction was entirely warm and normal. But this wasn't a mere dispute over seating arrangements or diplomatic etiquette. The animosity running from Cairo to Damascus is existential. Sisi does not hate Sharaa because of his bloody past. Global powers cut deals with brutal men every single day. Sisi hates Sharaa because the new Syrian leader is a living, breathing contradiction to the foundational myth of the modern Egyptian state. Since 2013, the Egyptian regime has justified its absolute grip on power using a single powerful narrative: it's either me or absolute chaos. It is a psychological contract forced upon the population: endure economic hardship and political repression, or face the apocalyptic ruins of Libya or Syria. But the Syrian transition blew that narrative to pieces. Sharaa proved that a regime can fall, an outsider can take over, and the state will not collapse into anarchy. Even worse for Cairo, the international community didn't isolate this new leader. They welcomed him. The ultimate nightmare materialized when Sharaa, the former fugitive, walked into the White House to meet with the American president. The monopoly on stability had been broken. Furthermore, the sudden erasure of Bashar al-Assad sent a chilling message to every dictator relying on iron-fisted security. Assad believed his rule was permanent because he possessed an unyielding military apparatus and powerful foreign backers. Yet, when the regional balance shifted, his entire empire evaporated in less than 2 weeks. For similar regimes built on fear, the lesson was terrifyingly clear. No one is safe, and no system is immune to the tides of history. This shift also struck a lethal blow to the concept of dynastic politics in the region. For years, political observers whispered about the quiet grooming of internal successors within closed military and security circles, keeping power tightly locked within a single family or institution. Shara's ascension violently disrupted that imagination. He proved that the political vacuum will not always be filled by the sons of elites or chosen generals. The deepest divide, however, lies in how these two leaders view the very concept of a nation. Sharaa is presenting a model where the state belongs to its citizens, and the military is merely a branch designed to protect it. This stands in direct, violent opposition to the system that has governed Egypt since the military coup of July 1952, a system where the military is the absolute center of gravity, and civilian society is merely a satellite orbiting its power. Their messages to the global community could not be more polarized. Syria's new leadership travels the world, pitching a story of a fresh start, looking for investments, partnerships, and reconstruction. Cairo's pitch to the West relies on a strategy of fear, warning Europe of impending collapse, floods of refugees, and regional terror if the billions in international loans ever dry up. When Sisi looked across the table in Cyprus and saw Ahmed Hussein al-Sharaa, he wasn't just looking at the leader of a new Syria. He was looking at his own deepest political anxieties wrapped in a single man. He saw the ghosts of past Egyptian opposition leaders, the memory of the late President Morsi, and the terrifying reminder that history does not freeze for any regime. The geopolitical landscape of the Middle East has fundamentally shifted, and the old playbook of ruling through fear is losing its grip, which leaves us with one critical question. If the ultimate survivalist regime in Damascus could fall in just 12 days, how long can the remaining autocrats of the Middle East hold back the tide?